Here are the 3 key things you need to know about the Castle Pines real estate market in July 2023. The first thing you need to know is that mortgage rates are controlling the market right now in Castle Pines as well as Metro Denver. Mortgage rates right now are hovering around 7% for a 30-year fixed rate loan. This is up substantially from the 3 to 3.5% 30-year mortgage rate of 2 years ago. This has really shocked buyers and have scared them out of the market. If you look though, this interest rate is 7% by historical standards, actually a little bit below average. This chart here shows you the average mortgage rate since 1971. And the average is actually just a little bit over 7.5% if you look at this chart, topping out at 18% and then falling as low as just a little bit below 3%. But again, people remember that only 2 years ago they could get a 30-year mortgage for 3 to 3.5%, and so that is keeping them out of the market right now. Unfortunately, mortgage rates are not forecasted to do anything substantially different over the next year to 2 years actually. Interest rates, if we're lucky, might creep back to 6%, but it's doubtful they'll go below 6% anytime soon. And again, by historical standards, this is a good rate compared to the 7.5% average since 1971, but again, people are just used to lower rates. And this blue line in this chart also illustrates that, in that the blue line represents a 5% mortgage rate, and you can see pretty much since 2009, since the Great Recession, mortgage rates have stayed below 5% until here just recently over the last year to year and a half when they've ballooned up. And that's been a shock to the system, which has impacted both homeowners and buyers in their mentality at looking at homes. Key stat number 2 is that because of these high mortgage rate, buyers have been pushed to the sidelines and are not buying or are unable to buy because they've been priced out of the market. And the best way to look at that is to look at the average interest rate and the average payment on a $500,000 mortgage and the impact this has had on buyers. If you look at a $500,000 loan at 3.5% of the rate 2 years ago, the monthly payment would have been $2,245. In today's interest rate environment with a 7% interest rate, the monthly payment would be $3,326, almost an $1,100 or 50% increase in the monthly payment from just 2 years ago. Another way to look at this is to reverse it and say, well, if I had a $3,326 payment, which is on the $500,000 loan at 5%, or 7%, what would that loan what would that allow me to borrow at a 3.5% rate? And that's $741,000. So again, that same monthly payment that you have to pay today on a $500,000 loan, 2 years ago you could have had a $741,000 loan with that same payment. So that has slowed buyer activity. And this next chart here shows you buyer activity in Castle Pines, and it shows you what's gone on with sold activity. And so the red line represents roughly the 12-month rolling average of monthly sales per month. And you can see that red line's right around 16 homes per month. And that was pretty reflective of the market over the last 5 or 6 years in the original communities in Castle Pines. But if you look now, we're almost down to 12 sales a month. So that's about a 25% reduction in buyer activity in Castle Pines in the original communities. And I'm using the original communities because the new community data is skewed because of the builder activity and new builder construction. But what's going on in Castle Pines is also going on in the rest of Metro Denver, with sales down roughly about 25%. So buyer activity in the market's down 25%. And with buyer activity down so substantially, you think that inventory would be going up substantially. However, this leaves us to key fact number 3 that you need to know about the Castle Pines real estate market, and that is that current homeowners are not willing to list and sell their home. Current homeowners are buckling down and staying put because they're looking at these high interest rates, and despite the fact that they have record levels of homeowner equity, they're looking at what they can buy in Metro Denver, and they realize that they're paying a high price and a high interest rate. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to give up their 3%, 3.5%, 4% interest rate. And it's interesting to note that statistically, and this is a national stat, that 23.3% of homeowners with mortgages have a mortgage of 3% or less. 38% of homeowners that have mortgages have an interest rate of between 3 and 4%, and you have 19.9% of homeowners that have an interest rate between 4 and 5%. So over 80% of homeowners have an interest rate below 5%. And these homeowners are not willing to go and list their home for sale and put it on the market. And that's what this next chart here shows, is the number of new listings coming on the market on a monthly basis in the in the original communities in Castle Pines. And if you look kind of again, 2017 to 2020, there were roughly 20 homes a month coming on market on average. But now that's dipped down below 15 homes per month on average since COVID. And again, with these high interest rates, we don't expect homeowners, they'll start selling their homes in bunches here. They're going to stay put, and they're not willing to put their homes on the market. And the other interesting thing to note is that the 25% drop in buyer activity has corresponded with a 25% drop in new listings. So the balance of those two has kept inventory low. And that's what this last sheet here is that you need to know, is that inventory does remain low in Castle Pines. And on average now, we're running about 20 homes on a rolling 12-month average that are on the market during the month. And this is down from the 40 homes that we were running, again, for 5 or 6 years prior to COVID. And what happened during the COVID years of late 2020 and early 2021, there were very few listings coming on, high buyer demand, so it dropped the inventory down substantially from 40 to 20 homes a month on average. And now, because we don't have buyers buying and we don't have homeowners listing their home, and that's stayed equitable, then we haven't seen inventory build at all. And it looks like over the next 6 months to 12 months to even 18 months that these continuing market conditions are going to exist. And so we'll see interest rates staying in that 6.5% to 7% range. We'll see limited buyer activity, and we'll see limited homeowners wanting to sell. If you'd like more information about what your home is worth in today's market, please call me at 303-886-3437. Thanks, and have a great day.